Hi, my name is Dragon from Dragon Finger Drums, and I'm here to teach you how to play finger drums like a real drummer. If you want to learn the secrets to realistic drumming on the pads, make sure you don't miss out on my free finger drumming starter course. You can get it by clicking the link in the video description or the pinned comment down below. In this lesson, we're going to start working on some eighth note fills. So we're going to start by playing a groove, and then we're going to create space in that groove and we're going to fill it. Okay, we're going to fill it in a few different ways. So first of all, our groove. We're going to play straight eighth notes on our closed hi-hat down here with our dominant middle finger. And then our snare drum is going to play the 2 and the 4 with our non-dominant index finger on pad 6. And then pad 5 kick is going to be 1 and 3 and. So the whole pattern sounds like this. Okay, pretty straightforward groove. What we're going to do is we're going to completely rest every other measure. So we're going to play that groove through once, and then we're going to completely rest for a full bar, then we're going to play it again, like this. Okay? We aren't actually going to play along like that though. We're going to fill in that empty space. But just so you can hear, the groove is only coming back in every other measure. So every other measure is going to be a full fill. So we're just going to work with eighth notes in this lesson. So we're going to fill it in a couple different ways, but using eighth notes each time. So the first one we're going to do is we're just going to do straight eighth notes, kind of up the snares and down the toms. And there's actually a little bit of freedom here. You can do your hits in general however you want. You know, you can, like the exact drums you're hitting, I'm not going to worry about teaching you an exact fill pattern because this is a pretty straightforward fill anyway. What matters is the direction we're going. So in that space, we're going to go up pads 2 to 6 on the snares, and then down pads 9, 10, 11, and 12 to the toms. And then we're going to come back to our groove. So for an example, I'll play a few rounds of this so you can hear, you know, an example of what we're listening for. Okay, so again, as you'll notice there, the way that I moved up the snares and down the toms, the exact hits I was doing was a little different each time. The point is that we're trying to move in this direction, leaving the groove and then coming back to the groove in this same direction. We're just doing straight eighth notes. And one easy trick for your brain is to listen, pay attention to your hi-hats during the groove. Because those straight eighth notes, we're playing that exact same thing, just dispersing it over the snares and the toms for the next bar. So we're still keeping the same pulse actually. So if I just play the hi-hat, for example, and then do my fill, you'll hear that. You know, so we're actually just doing straight eighth notes. We're just sort of changing up how they're being played and where they're being played and which fingers are playing them. And when we add, of course, those kick and snare hits, then we get the feeling of having a groove and a fill separate from each other, even though we're still keeping those same straight eighth notes. So let's play along with this together. Again, if your hits are a little different than mine on the roll, that's totally fine. We're just working on getting this direction down. So here we go. Okay, so now we're going to play the exact same groove with the same space, but we're going to fill it in a slightly different way. So this time, instead of moving in this same direction, up the snares and down the toms, we're going to do a linear drum fill, and we're just going to randomize what drums we're hitting. So we're going to use the same pads. You can use any of your 4 toms, pads 9, 10, 11, or 12, and your 2 snares, pads 2 and 6. But instead of going in a direction, we're going to do the same amount of hits, 8 hits, but you're going to do them in any order you want. So it's going to sound something like this. Okay, so again, we're kind of doing the same thing. We're just doing it in a different way. And in order to make things not sound super confusing while you're listening to me play and you're doing it, for my fill, I'm literally just going to keep playing 8th notes on the hi-hat. I'm not going to do the linear drumming pattern, because if you were playing your own linear pattern over my linear pattern, it would sound very chaotic and confusing, and it would be hard for you to determine, how on point you were. And this way you'll be able to hear what you're playing and hear, what it sounds like. This is an important factor in learning drums, is being able to listen to yourself and get the feedback of like, oh, does that sound good? Does that not sound good? In whatever hits you're doing. So if you notice you do too many snare hits in a row and it just doesn't quite sound right, for example, so that's a good way to sort of get a better understanding of your playing. So again, for that fill space, I'm just going to play the hi-hat, but you, again, play any of the toms, any of the snares in any order you want. You're still just hitting those same 8 notes, right? So here we go. So that was a basic overview of some 8th note fills. Now, once you get those exercises down, if you speed up your tempo, it can sound very cool, very quickly. Again, I love those linear drumming patterns where you're sort of randomizing your hits, because you can get some really cool sounds out of them, especially when you're playing at a faster tempo. They can sound pretty nice. So this is your introduction to the topic of 8th note fills.